All right, folks, we are back here on WLTH 1370M. That's 92.7 in the FM dial. If you're nasty, it is 6:44 in the PM here on August the 29th, 2025. The future's here. The future is now. The number is 219-885-1371. The number again, 219-885-1371. Before we left, I told you we were going to get into some comments made by one of America's sweethearts. Talking about one Mr. Snoop Dogg. Yes, one of the most famous music figures of the last 35 years. It's sort of hard to believe that the guy who was so menacing and so feared early in his career and was so controversial early in his career has sort of turned into America's uncle. You know, he hosts a show with Martha Stewart, a cooking show. You know, this dude's in movies, on TV. You know, he regularly, I mean, he's involved with the Olympics. He's one of the hosts of the Olympics now. And so, like, it's sort of hard to think that Snoop at this point in his career would say something that's all that controversial. But he kind of stepped on a landmine last week when he actually stated an opinion about something that actually has been, I believe, bubbling under the surface here in America in our political discourse for a while. So let's just see what he had to say.
I took my grandson to see what was the movie with Buzz Lightyear?
Toy Story?
Not that one, but
the new Buzz, the Lightyear. I think it's called Lightyear.
Yeah, with Keke Palmer is in that movie.
Okay.
She plays like the daughter. So we watching it, and the lady, which is Keke's mama, they move on into the space years. They move down the line. They're like, man, she had a baby with a woman. Well, my grandson in the middle of the movie like, Papa Snoop, how she have a baby with a woman? She a woman. Oh, I didn't come in for this shit. Came to watch the damn movie. Hey, man, watch the movie. They just said she had a baby. They both women. How did she have a baby? Shh. The movie ain't over with. So it's like, I'm scared to go to the movies now. Like, y'all throwing me in the middle of shit I don't have an answer for.
So that is Snoop in his very Snoop Doggish way, talking about on the It's Giving podcast, talking about his discomfort about the LGBTQRSTUV community and that sort of agenda being overly represented, at least in his opinion, in children's movies. And he's specifically talking about this Disney movie, Lightyear, which features a same-sex couple. And they somehow having a baby. And his grandson says, how are they having a baby? How's a woman having a baby with another woman? And Snoop's like, I don't know. Okay, just watch the movie. And the reason why I think that's important is because a big part of the reason why Donald Trump got back in the White House, in my opinion and the opinion of many political analysts like myself, is that liberals have gone real hard on the LGBTQRS stuff, or the Lugga Booga Tugga community stuff in the last, well, pretty much in the post-Obama era. You know, it really started around 2010 with the It Gets Better bullying campaign that they said was really about, that was supposed to be about stopping kids who were LGBT from getting bullied and killing themselves. It was about, to a lot of people, it's just about normalizing that type of behavior and that type of lifestyle. Now, me personally, I'm pro letting adults be adults. It's a free country, everybody. I don't understand the need to control what adults are watching, what adults are listening to, what adults are doing with themselves. If you are a man and you want to lay down with another man, that is your business. If you're a woman, you want to lay down with another woman, that's your business. Just leave dogs out of it and kids out of it. And this sort of brings us back to where Snoop Dogg is coming to it from, and where many people who ended up voting for Donald Trump, who used to vote for people like Barack Obama, who used to vote for people like Bill Clinton, who used to vote for people like Hillary Clinton, this is where they're coming from. Now, again, I think it's important to be sensitive about these types of the issues, especially when you're talking about young people, because young people don't have the moral compass, don't have a fully developed frontal cortex in their brains. That's why I think we should be, protecting kids from all kinds of stuff. Just, like I said, we just talked about smartphones. Kids shouldn't be having smartphones. Adults should be snatching away smartphones from these people. Should I say these children? Because children aren't people. Fight me on it. Children aren't people. And it's important to understand that just not allowing young people to be inundated with so much confusion in their lives as young people is not hate. And this is the thing that I think so many people who end up voting for Democrats, liberals I call them, end up getting wrong. A lot of people are not anti-LGBTQRSTUV. A lot of people have no issues with the gay community as long as they have the mentality that they used to have. When I was growing up, it was, we want tolerance and we want to be left alone. That was it. That was in the 90s. When I was growing up as a kid in the 90s, we want tolerance. That was what they were asking for, tolerance. And there was nothing wrong with that. Nobody deserved to be bullied, brutalized, beaten. A lot of kids were being thrown out of their parents' homes. Because they had certain, orientation. That was never right. I'm sorry, it's not right. But at a certain point, there became a political agenda that sought to insert itself in every single facet of American life, where it's not just about tolerance and acceptance and saying, look, okay, I can understand Adam and Steve, y'all cool. You know what I mean? Y'all may be gay, but y'all cool. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we can have a beer together. We could go to a barbecue together, maybe a baseball game or something. Adam and Steve, cool with me. To now it's a thing that you must have this agenda forced onto you in every single facet of American life. We just saw the Minnesota Vikings football team, NFL team, they had some gay dudes to start prancing around with the cheerleaders. Now again, I'm not homophobic. I think I've been pro letting gay people get married since the 90s. You want to get married? Get married. That's your business. But all I ask is, who asked for this? What fans of the NFL asked to have two grown men prancing and twerking along with cheerleaders in skimpy outfits? Who asked for that? Who asked for it? The type of liberals who love that stuff, most of them ain't trying to watch football. Is this some straight men we're asking for? No. That's like 75% of the audience. I don't even think straight women were asking for this. And so much of this goes back to, like I said, if the feeling that this is being forced on the public, forced. Again, I don't think we should be beating people up. I don't think we should be kicking people out of their homes. I don't think we should be firing people from their jobs for their orientation. I don't think we should be putting people in jail for their orientation. But at the same time, we're talking about a small percentage of the population that now is demanding that their agenda be represented in every single facet of society, including children's movies. Like, exactly what is this for? Who is this for? What is this story supposed to be telling? What is this story supposed to be doing? And so much of the focus from the other side of the population, the more liberal side, has said that, Snoop is an imperfect messenger because he built his career rapping about gangs, crime, drugs, and violence. And I understand that line of thinking, but what I always tell people, and this is what I've talked to Quabin about over the years, Snoop ain't on Nickelodeon. Well, he might. I take that back. I don't know if he is or not. But Snoop ain't rapping about that stuff on Nickelodeon. I'll just say that. Gangsta rap's not on Disney. We're talking about stuff that's on Disney, that's on Nickelodeon, that's in children's movies. If your parents are letting you listen to gangsta rap, that's on them. But that's not for children. Snoop Dogg's music is not for children. And it's very openly not for children. There's actually a sticker on all records that have been made the last 40 years that says parental discretion is advised. Every record that's been released the last 40 years, pretty much hip-hop record that's not like a gospel record, has contained this. That is to let parents know that this is not for children. Some parents just don't really care. Like I always tell the story, my father bought Dr. Dre's The Chronic. My father bought Tupac records. Me and my father used to watch Rap City and Yo MTV Raps. My father used to steal my hip-hop CDs when I was in high school, my Wu-Tang Clan CD. If I could not find my Wu-Tang Clan CD, my father had it. Some people are okay with that. Some people aren't. But the issue is that the parent made the decision. The problem is when you have it in stuff like Disney movies and Pixar movies and Nickelodeon, is that the parents think that they're safe, that they won't have to deal with any adult topics, like having to explain to their grandkids about like how a woman and a woman can have a baby, or drugs, or sex in any sort. People are not letting their kids watch kids' movies thinking that they're going to have to give them a huge lecture about people's sexual orientation and how, two women can have a baby. And so I agree, Snoop's not a perfect messenger, but he is a grandparent who has a right to decide what's right and safe for his grandchildren, just like everybody else. And, you know, to me, this goes back to politics because so much of the Democratic soul searching after losing to the con artist game show host, who they've lost to twice now, has included looking at the cultural war that they have been fighting. And this is a part of that. Pushing men in women's sports, pushing men in women's bathrooms, and I mean biological men in women's bathrooms, biological men in women's sports. Pushing the alphabet agenda into children's movies. This is the type of stuff that makes people vote for Donald Trump or for Republicans in general. You don't have to be homophobic to say, look, this ain't a conversation I'm ready to have with my 5-year-old grandson. You may have gay friends, gay family members. I know I certainly do. But this sort of militant, there's sort of a militant strain of that community that has become a liability to the left and to Democrats and to liberals and the left. Because it's not just, you know, liberal Democrats, it's a lot of us on the left as well, because there has always been a secular element to the left due to our, you know, emphasis on materialism coming from people like Karl Marx and others, you know. But this has become a liability, a political liability for us. Whether you're a liberal or whether you're a leftist, it's become a liability. It's one thing to want acceptance and tolerance. It's another thing to want compliance, complete compliance, and you must support this. You must like this, or you're a bigot, and, you know, we're going to try our best to destroy your life if you don't agree with this. What happened to tolerance and acceptance? And we just saw recently, in the last few days, a trans militant go off and kill a bunch of Catholic children in a school because they were confused about what they were. And we've seen multiple shooters who were non-binary, trans, shooting up schools. There was another shooting at a religious school in Nashville, Tennessee, where the shooter was, again, a trans person. Now, I'm not saying that trans people are all shooters or most of them are shooters or that there's a huge, you know, but my point is, tolerance and acceptance goes both ways, folks. Tolerance and acceptance goes both ways. People have a right to want to shield their children from a political agenda that's predicated on, you know, alternative sexual orientations. I'm not saying you don't have a right to have those orientations. You do. This is America. You have a right to do what you want as an adult. But people have a right to not want their daughter to have to run against, you know, somebody with testicles and testosterone. And people have a right to not want their 5-year-old grandson to be like trying to deduce how two women can have a baby. Both things can be true. Let me get this caller before I go to a break. Hello, caller. What's up?
Well, good evening, my brother. How you doing today?
It's all good.
You know, I probably missed it, but I was wondering if you ever went through the Powell memo.
What about it?
I was wondering if you really went through it when it talked about what would happen to the cities if you allowed them to be integrated, or what the FBI was suggesting about Dr. King, or how the fact that, you know, the Federal Society had a mandate to eliminate the population from voting.
Well, you know, the Powell, like I said, the Powell memo is one of those things that I generally tackle on an anniversary or something, or when it is it has come up in the news in some particular case. And so, yeah, I absolutely plan on definitely, because it's one of the most important things. Lewis Powell, the Supreme Court Justice, is one of the most important figures of modern history. So definitely, I definitely plan on when it either comes up or when there's an anniversary, an important anniversary, I definitely will tackle that.
You know, brother, when you would actually examine what parts of it say you have, basically you have to take the government away from the people.
Okay.
You would talk about the part that actually where he's talking directly about civil rights.
Mm-hmm.
And the misrepresentation that our republic is sharing with the fact that we're supposed to be all created equal in laws, equal under justice. Of course, it's not, but that's what it says.
Mm.
So I mean, what does the First Amendment start out with? The Congress shall make no law establishing religion,
Mm-hmm.
nor prohibit your free exercise.
Right.
Now, when you start to put religion into law, like Indiana's done, there was a case they're talking about. This fellow was a policeman, went through training. He had braids, and he got fired because he had braids.
Yeah, I saw that.
Rastafarian gentleman, and people questioned his beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
His religion wasn't quite up to their standards. I mean, the idea of eliminating religion from our government is essential. Otherwise, whatever religion is in control, that's the only way to be.
Yeah, I heard that.
And so, how do you have a respectful conversation with those folks when they're absolutely intolerant?
Man, that's a good question. That's a good question.
Yes, sir, brother.
But thank you for your call.
I appreciate your show all the time, bro.
It's all good. All right, folks. It's been a good first hour. We're knee deep into the second hour. Yes, we are. So you know what that means. It's time for Happy Happies. We'll be right back when we come back. Here on Straight Outta the Cannon with me, Scott Cannon. Don't go nowhere.